Good evening, family.
Good evening, Ms. Hopkins.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Good.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
everyone.
Evening.
Why my screen looks like that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey everybody, can y'all see me?
We can now. Fix your
Yeah.
face.
I need some light, man. I gotta put a filter on this junk. I'm getting rid of these bumps.
I don't know why I look funny.
You
guys are live now? Mics are hot?
Good evening, everyone. How are you this evening?
You guys are echoing.
I don't know about you.
Are we echoing now?
No.
All right. I'm looking for Miss Boykins.
See,
Does
I'll
anyone
send
have-
her now.
Miss Boykins, does anyone have an attendance list near them?
do not,
Okay.
but it's,
All right.
I only had you and Richardson as being in person.
Okay. Right. I was looking for her virtually.
Nope, I don't see her.
Good evening, Miss Safuni. Always a pleasure. Good evening, all the other principals. I want you to feel the love also. Hello. We're going to get started in 2 minutes, 6:35 or 1833. I've switched to military time to be there for my.
Ms. Boykins has asked that we go ahead on and start the meeting. She's had an emergency.
Okay, you got it. All right. 1 more minute, we'll get started. As usual, Miss Mary, can you put the agenda in the chat for us, please? We'll put the agenda in the chat. As soon as we get started, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Miss Brown.
And then we can also drop does Mary have the presentation? It's in there.
Yes.
Sometimes we have to keep doing
Okay.
it depending upon when people come in. So if you want me to do it, I can handle that.
Yeah, correct, because you can only see the chat from when you come in. It's not like retroactive. Miss Brown is like.
All right.
I'd like to thank Ms. Hopkins and Ms. Ivory for being here this evening. I believe we're expecting Ms. Richardson in person. Ms. Boykins has had an emergency. You should be able to see the agenda in chat. Ms. Mary, can you also put the deck that we're looking at also? The deck is coming up. As usual, please put questions in. There'll be two ways. You can raise your hand. We can call on you. You can put questions in the Q&A. Please do not put questions in the chat. It's hard to follow.
I did just include the link to the presentation.
Great. Miss Mary beat you to it.
I don't think she did. Oh, I guess she did. Oh, well, they have it 3 times. How about that?
Yeah. And we'll cut and paste that in as new people come in. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am sitting in for Ms. Boykins. She has had an emergency. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Brown to drive this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ms. Brown.
Okay, so this evening, our agenda for this evening will be common planning time and future ready comprehensive plans presentations from our principals at the elementary schools. What is common planning time? Common planning time is a time that teachers or educators come together, is a critical element in the process of inclusive school. Planning time, it helps improve instruction by allowing teachers to share best practices, look at student work, and plan curriculum and lessons together. During this common planning time, the components consist of the intellectual prep phase, where we look at content standards and we host our IPP meeting. The IPP means intellectual prep phase. Our next phase is the instructional practice. We do classroom visits and we provide effective bite-sized measurable feedback. It's instruction with adjustments to what teachers implement in classrooms based on student work. The final stage of the common planning time is the data analysis and the intervene phase. This is when we look at student formative assessments, and we host data meetings to make certain that teachers understand the information that students have presented through the formative assessment based on the information or instruction that was provided during this time. How have our students mastered this content? What will the data inform, or how will the data inform future instructions and interventions? Nope, sorry. All right, so now we're going to move into what are our comprehensive plans? Excuse my technical difficulty.
I think if you move that off of your
This one,
screen,
right?
it's causing some weird redraw. Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so what does the research say about common planning time? You can peruse the slide deck in front of you. The intellectual prep phase. Teaching is a means to an end. A planning precedes teaching. Planning precedes teaching. This is the most successful teaching begins therefore with clarity about desired learning outcomes and about evidence that will show that learning has occurred. The instruction and action phase is the framework. It identifies those aspects of teachers' responsibilities that have been documented through studies and theoretical research as promoting improved student learning. The data analysis phase and intervention phase. If assessments define the roadmap to our ultimate goals, analysis help us figure out where and why we left the path to allow us to determine how to get back on track. Now we'll move into our future ready.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions regarding the first part of Ms. Brown's presentation? Any attendees have any questions regarding the first part of Ms. Brown's presentation? I did have one question, Ms. Brown. I'm seeing no others. How do IPP, because I've been hearing about them, what's their relationship with lesson plans? Are they related? Are they separate?
So the instructional planning or the instructional prep process begins with lesson planning, right?
Okay,
We look at the unit of study. We start with the beginning and where we need to go for the end. So we backwards design.
right.
And we're using our formal lesson plan embedded within that process. So you could look at it as some people need to start with a lesson plan, yes,
Right.
while working through the instructional prep process. Over time, teachers will become very familiar with the intellectual prep and their lesson plans are becoming infused inside that prep time.
So there are two separate items
There
now.
are two separate items now that can be, right?
Is that the goal, that they become one?
They should, yes.
Okay, thank you.
How long that will take? Over time, you build stamina.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No worries.
All right. Back to you.
Thank you. So we'll go through our future ready comprehensive plans presentations. We're going to go in order of the slide deck according to schools. Comprehensive planning starts or is done every year. Schools must submit a plan of action to the state or Secretary of Education for approval. This plan must be made public for inspection and comments for up to 28 days. The public inspection and comment period guides the plan for approval by the Board of Education. And once the plans are approved by the local board, it can be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, PDE. Comprehensive planning takes place for CSI and ATSI schools. Those plans were submitted by our high school and middle school on June 30th, 2021. CSI schools receive additional funding to support improvement efforts, and ATSI schools receive ESSER funds to support improvement efforts as well. Non-CSI and TSI school plans have been submitted to the state as of, or being submitted, I'm sorry. They've been presented to the school board October 21st. I'm sorry, October 20th, 2021. So now we'll actually go into our school plan summaries presented by our principals, Dr. Watson Bowie, principal of Alden Elementary and Cowan School.
All right, greetings and thank you, Ms. Brown. Alden and Cowan Elementary Schools future ready plans. I am actually very, very proud of our both school communities, and much gratitude is extended often to my Alden and Cowan colleagues for their input, their support, and their commitment to reaching student achievement towards the priorities, actions, and goals that is being summarized for you this evening. Alden, we actually work together as one school, Alden and Cowin working together, leaning on each other as support. So we kind of plan and organize a lot of our information together. So with the established priorities, using our data from our 2018-2019 PSSA data walks, we were able to establish priorities at Alden, where first we said we needed a structure that ensures that our instruction is aligned, led, and evidence-based. Second, we needed our structure to support data, review, needs, and growth of our students, and teacher common planning time, the teacher common planning time process at grade, cross grade, and whole school levels. Third, we said we needed meaningful data in order to implement a multi-tiered system of supports for academics and behaviors. At Cowin, similar to Alden, but worded just a bit differently in the voice of our staff. First, we will use results from formative and summative assessment data to find trends and deficits in order to implement interventions in order to increase grade level proficiency. Second, we need our structures to support data review, needs, growth, and of our students with teacher common planning time, the process at grade level, cross grade level, and whole school levels. And finally, we will consistently use research-based social emotional learning strategies and PBIS to positively impact school climate. Next slide. Our action steps. So for Alden teachers, first, teachers will increase their knowledge, implementation, and instruction using the common planning time process to provide targeted instruction in PA eligible content reporting categories in reading and math. Similarly with Cowin, we kind of plan and organize and work together, collaborate and support each other. Therefore, our actions are very similar. Second, we will implement at Alden a SEL curriculum to maintain a safe, positive, and healthy learning environment. And second, at Cowin, we will use research-based social emotional learning programs to implement strategies in school-wide PBIS with fidelity to positively impact the school climate. And the third slide is professional development and anticipated outcomes are as follows and very similar. Based on our 2030 state goals, looking at our achievement levels, students will demonstrate at Alden grade level achievement towards standards in ELA math from September 2021 to June 2022 for reaching 2022 state goals of 60% and 75% using our Acadience benchmark in ELA and 43% using our 75% math screener diagnostic assessment in math. And second, Alden will reduce suspension data and increase our attendance data by 10% per each quarter in order to proactively enhance school-wide PBIS structures. Similarly, but slightly different, Cowin, students will demonstrate grade level achievement towards standards in ELA math from September to June 2022, reaching 22 state goals of 60% using our 75% Acadience benchmark in ELA and 41% using our 75% math screener diagnostic assessment in math. And second, reduce suspension data and increase our attendance data by 10% per quarter with the emphasis on intermediate grade levels by utilizing multi-tiered practices and strategies to strengthen our PBIS. And for growth, intervention, and achievement. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Watson-Bowie. Next, we'll have Ardmore Avenue Elementary School, Principal Birch.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Good evening to the board and to the William Penn School community. It's an honor to share what we call a living and breathing document, which is our future-ready comprehensive plan for Ardmore Avenue Elementary School. As Dr. Watson-Bowie stated, this is a concerted effort between the leadership team and stakeholders to live and breathe out the Focus Forward strategic plan. So at Ardmore, we started with Focus Forward. We looked at the 3 priorities and we committed to a needs assessment. And you will hear the following priorities that we birthed out of that strategic thinking process. I will lend a synopsis to the priorities that are on the slide. We wanted to give a concerted effort towards math as in response to the data and the district-wide and also the school level data around math, being that that is an area for great improvement. We found that the 90-minute math framework components and giving good attention and detail to a proficiency in all of the areas of the 90-minute block would lead us to positive outcomes for our scholars. We found that if we take the Common Core's 8 mathematical practices and make sure that we support our staff and our students in understanding those practices and evidence them in lesson planning and instructional practices, that we would be able to increase our achievement, not only growth in the area of math. Secondly, we plan to ensure that we are doing a book study for the year on Paul Bambrick's Driven by Data. Every staff member has a copy, and we will be utilizing the framework and the structure and the blueprint to model activity, reflection, to frame our thoughts, and to apply the data-driven instructional methods. These will be incorporated in our CPT process, especially when we are analyzing data and responding to data accordingly. Thirdly, we know that English language arts is a great area of need for us, especially in light of the new curriculum that we have embraced, our Wonders Balanced Literacy curriculum. We want to ensure that with this shift and new perspective on approaches to literacy, that our teachers understand the 5 components of literacy and that they understand the balanced literacy framework with fidelity. We will provide multiple opportunities for this, and we believe that vocabulary is where it all starts. As the English language learning school, we will devote our attention to building not only vocabulary, story vocabulary, but academic language. Thank you. For our next slide, I would like to direct your attention to the action steps and the continuous monitoring. So the how of our strategic plan. We will ensure that staff understand that during the ELA block, a non-negotiable is small group instruction, ensuring that teachers rotate in small groups and ensure that we know the reading behaviors that students are demonstrating and help them to get towards grade level. Next, we will be providing quarterly professional development and a framework of practice on the 120-minute balanced literacy framework to ensure that our instructional shifts are there and that we're leveraging those shifts. Also, we are coaching and training teachers around the 8 standards of mathematical practices. You will hear me state the 8 mathematical practices often because we believe that it will shift pedagogy and practice. We're using a variety of assessments that our district is using, DIBELS, Acadians, you've heard those. We will be using those combined with training to ensure that our staff understands how to use that data and how to incorporate it. We will utilize not only staff reflection, but student reflection on their learning. And some of our online programs actually have embedded opportunities for students to reflect. Finally, we will be fully implementing instructional rounds, which is a data collection method. It's a practice, a best practice, where we will inspect what we expect, and also it will help us to grow. Finally, in the area of professional development and our anticipated outcomes, back to the incorporation of the 8 standards of mathematical practice, we will ensure that students understand that these are learning outcomes that they can embody, and they will understand that, for example, they can solve problems without giving up, which is perseverance. And you can read so on and so forth. But these will be evident in all of our classrooms. We want our students to live and breathe and understand that this is what it means to be mathematical thinkers. And we believe all of our students are mathematicians. We will also focus on guided reading practices and small group instruction. We will also ensure that there are high quality instructional practices in the literacy classroom with the 5 areas of focus, which also aligned with the instructional framework for literacy. I won't read them to you, but they're around word work and phonemic awareness, the 5 components of literacy again. And lastly, we will set the rationale for data-driven instruction, the why behind why are we engaging in a cycle of data analysis at Ardmore. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Birch. Next, we will have Principal Oates of Bell Avenue Elementary School.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As my colleague stated earlier, I would like to commend the collaborative effort between myself and our leadership team and all of their input in planning the Future Ready Comprehensive Plan. So we have established 4 priorities: attendance, mathematics, reading, and high quality professional learning. For attendance, we will continue with the implementation of our attendance committee to assist with tracking and contacting parents regarding student absences and tardiness. We will continue to provide incentives for students who come to school on time and regularly, in addition to parent incentives. We will continue to set quarterly attendance goals, which are aligned to our PBIS school-wide monthly incentives. For mathematics, we will implement Envisions with Fidelity to increase academic rigor. Staff will utilize the instructional pacing guides to ensure standards-driven instruction occurs. We will use benchmark informative data to set goals, monitor student achievement. Students will have opportunities to participate in number talks and apply mathematical skills to real-life problems. For reading, we will continue to implement Wonders with Fidelity. Staff will utilize the instructional pacing guides to ensure standards-driven instruction occurs. We will utilize DIBELS and formative data to identify trends and set instructional goals. For high quality professional learning, staff will participate in weekly, as you heard, the initiative Common Planning Time meetings to identify and address instructional trends and enhance instructional practices with evidence of best practices. Staff will utilize the Common Planning Time process to plan engaging lessons, use data to reteach and remediate standards, and to scaffold lessons to close instructional gaps. Next slide, please. Thank you. Action steps and continuous monitoring. For attendance, attendance will be monitored weekly, monthly, and quarterly through our eSchool reports to ensure our quarterly attendance goals are met for all student groups. Perfect attendance will be acknowledged and celebrated quarterly. For mathematics, our master assessment data will be monitored quarterly to measure, track, and celebrate student growth. For reading, our DIBELS benchmark and Wonders common assessments will be administered quarterly to measure, monitor, and celebrate reading growth for all subgroups. And foster quality professional learning. Staff will participate in weekly Common Planning Time meetings to identify, address instructional trends, and enhance instructional practices with evidence of best practices. For our professional development and anticipated outcomes, for attendance, professional development will occur to ensure attendance reports are processed and reviewed. All student groups will attend school regularly and on time with a 95% attendance rate by June 2022. Mathematics, professional development will take place to ensure staff are experts and grade level eligible content, reteaching prerequisite skills, and interpreting formative and summative data to improve instruction. And our anticipated outcome is that all students will gain a 10% increase on the math assessment each quarter. Dreambox will be utilized to curtail instruction to individual student needs to enrich and reinforce skills. For reading, professional development will take place and staff will participate for Reading Wonders. For our anticipated outcomes, all students will gain a 10% increase on the DIBELS assessment each quarter. Lexia will be utilized to reinforce skills through small group instruction to address student needs, to enrich and to reteach reading skills. In fostering quality professional learning, 100% of staff will participate in weekly common planning time meetings to address and improve instructional practices. And our anticipated outcome, all staff will strengthen Tier 1 instructional practices and utilize formative and summative data to inform instructional decisions, resulting in an increase in academic growth as indicated by PSSF. Staff will receive continuous professional development on data-driven instructional practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Oates. Next, we'll have Dr. Williams, Principal of East Lansdowne Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me this evening. Our future ready comprehensive plan for the East Lansdowne School is as follows. Our established priorities are in the areas of English language arts, math, and parent-family engagement. We intend to reach these priorities via the next slide through a three-pronged approach. And by doing so, we want to engage teachers in in-depth preparation and planning, and we intend to do that through weekly planning meetings, which we call common planning time, that focuses on student outcomes, which is the data, and subject-aligned standards, because our goal is to increase our student scores in the areas of math and ELA, but by 10%. The second phase of this approach would be utilizing platforms such as Dreambox and Lexia. And these are learning platforms that we intend to engage our students in that could provide them with tailored, differentiated instruction that will assist in improving their skills. And our third prong to this approach would be to provide our families with opportunities to engage in instructional learning programs that will help deepen their understanding in the use of curricular programs so that they can support their students. And finally, via our professional development and our anticipated outcomes would be to provide ongoing professional developments to our staff so that they become experts in grade level eligible content, where they would reteach prerequisite skills and interpret data so that that can improve instruction, which would result in students showing a 10% increase by using our tri-yearly assessments via our MSDA and our Acadience assessment. Staff will participate in professional development for Wonders, our Core 5 program, Power Up program, for Dreambox, Envisions, and Acadience. And these are the programs that we currently utilize. And this is our curriculum to deepen the skills and knowledge with these curriculums and or the platforms to support and supplement student learning. 100% of our teachers will participate in weekly common planning time meetings to address and improve instructional practices to result in an increase in student academic growth. And finally, our teachers, it is expected that our teachers will participate in activities that support parent and family engagement. And all of this would be in the idea of increasing our student scores in both math and ELA by 10% for this going into the 21-22 school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Next, we'll have Evans Elementary School, Principal Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Our established priorities at Evans Elementary would be for math, to increase our mathematical proficiency across all grade levels. Again, we chose math again to utilize Dreambox to monitor student progress, as well as provide individual adaptive curriculum supports. And our third priority would be to implement the MTSS process with tier 1 supports for all students, academically, socially, and emotionally. Right, so our action steps and our continuous monitoring. For the math, we're going to implement 2 common planning time meetings that we will be dedicated monthly and to be held across each grade level or grade band in our professional learning communities. The purpose of this is to provide consistent and targeted interventions for math. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to focus heavily on our 30-minute daily small group math instruction. And purposely in our schedule, we have aligned our grade levels with the same small group times so that we would have the flexibility of crossing classrooms in order to be more flexible with our grouping. Within the MTSS process, we are looking to implement tier 1 supports across the entire school in order to assess student needs, plan, implement, and evaluate in order to give our students the best opportunities for success, academically, behaviorally, and socially. Our professional development and anticipated outcome. For math, professional development will take place to ensure staff are experts at their grade level eligible content, reteaching prerequisite skills and interpreting formative and summative data to improve instruction. Math, teachers will participate in professional development to support the successful implementation of the Envisions math curriculum and Dreambox learning. Our common planning time, all staff will participate in weekly common planning time meetings to address and improve instructional strategies and practices. And our MTSS staff will participate in professional development designed to initiate and begin implementing the components of a multi-tiered system of support.
Thank you, Principal Smith. Next, we'll have Principal Fields of Park Lane Elementary School.
Good evening, everyone. I want to say I heard several of my principals talk about the thank you for their team. And as I'm new to Park Lane, I definitely needed my team to put this plan in place. We're looking at the established priorities this year. We have 4 of them. A whole wide school math focus to sustain and build how our teachers are teaching the math standards in practice to increase their baseline scores by 10%. PBIS, we want to go back into make sure we're implementing some positive behavior intervention systems to reduce the number of office referrals. Attendance, we noticed that we have a subgroup of students that are having an issue with their attendance and we want to focus on them this year, our students with disabilities, and we're going to do some active monitoring and mentoring for them. And we're going to begin implementing the MTSS process this year, making sure that we have at least 50% usage as it's new to our building. The action steps that we put in place for these 4 things will be, of course, to make sure that our team is getting professional development on the new math by all grades and using our math facilitator as well as the math lead at Green Avenue. We're working with our PBIS team here and at the DCIU to put a rollout plan together to review what those schedules are and those high areas of need, and making sure that our students are aware of the expectations by reaching out to our families and community members to be on top of the situation with us. We've applied for a grant to make sure that we have a way to reboot with some extra activities in place for the students. For our PBIS, we want to make sure, for our attendance, we want to make sure that our teachers that are being assigned to our students with disabilities know what is expected of them for the mentoring, active mentoring and checking in, making sure those students know that they need to be in school. We expect to see them. And then reaching out to parents and making sure that they're involved in the attendance protocols and making sure whatever their needs might be, we can address them. Our last piece was about implementing the MTSS process at our school and making sure that we have a team in place and reviewing again what the norms are and the expectations for that and being monitored actively by myself and a counselor. For our professional development and our anticipated outcomes from math, we're making sure that we're using our data to do continuous improvement. We're working with our growth practices of our teachers and making sure that we're going to have a 10% increase in our baseline scores by June. For PBIS, we're looking for that reduce in office referrals for students. Now that they're all back in the building, we want to keep those numbers low and remind them about the expectations for in school with a 50% implementation of the PBIS program by all staff and staff members at the school this year. For attendance with those subgroup of students, our students with disabilities, we want to increase their attendance to school and bring them up to 85% or better by June. And for the MTSS process, we're looking to make sure that we're at 50% implementation for our MTSS group of staff and students this year.
Thank you, Principal Fields.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Principal Williams of Walnut Street Elementary School.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Brown. Good evening, everyone. I would like to also thank my leadership team for their work in putting this plan together. So we have 4 established priorities for our school this year. 2 involve growth in ELA and math. The 3rd is attendance, and the 4th is really focusing on increasing teacher capacity with questioning. We're looking to increase our growth rates based on the DIBELS and the MSDA, assessments by 20% from the established baselines. Students recently took these assessments, so we'll be looking for growth from here on out. And regarding our attendance, we're focused on managing a 90% attendance rate across all grade levels. And again, as I mentioned, we took a survey, or I should say we evaluated the observations of last year to see where our teacher capacity fell. And most of the areas that were either in needs improvement or just people felt like they needed more professional development and that would really impact instruction was questioning. So our focus in terms of improving that teacher piece is going to be on questioning. So for our ELA growth, we are going to focus on continuous utilization of the Wonders program in conjunction with the CPT process that Ms. Brown mentioned earlier, and also utilizing the interventions such as Lexia with the focus on improving our DIBELS assessment. In regards to math, again, a focus on Envisions, which is a new curriculum for us in conjunction with using that CPT process as well, with the focus on improving our MSDA assessments. And apologize for adding that extra D in front of the M. As far as attendance is concerned, attendance will be monitored weekly, and we're going to be using Attendance Works. And Attendance Works has a 3-tiered program that provides support and intervention for students who are deemed in need of such. And we'll utilize that program to help us to maintain that 90% attendance rate that we'll be focusing on. In regards to teacher capacity, again, questioning is going to be our focus, and we are going to focus on ensuring that we're looking at questioning through the CPT process, and we'll have 2 professional development meetings per quarter focused on using Webb's depth of knowledge as a tool to ensure that teachers are utilizing questioning in an effective way. That'll be measured through walkthroughs and our conversations as they occur through the CPT process. And our professional development and anticipated outcomes. So again, we're looking at 20% growth as measured by our DIBELS data, 20% growth as measured by our math data. Our attendance, we're looking to get 90% across the board. And again, 90% of our teachers, we're focused on being proficient in questioning in regards to their teacher observations.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, the comprehensive plan next steps, post the future ready comprehensive plans on the William Penn School District website. William Penn's administrative team will review and address questions and concerns provided by the public. Provide updates to the Board of Directors at the next Education Committee meeting. And the Board of Directors will take action on November 22nd, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Boykins, I see you. Do you want to close the meeting? We need to,
Well, first,
yeah,
thank you.
that's what I was
Yes, I'm
gonna say.
here.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
gonna, just give me one, we're asking the board members and then the public if they have any questions, and then that's where we're at.
So 1 second, Jen, before you do that, okay? So I just wanted to say thank you very much to the principals that presented. What you presented was very well thought out and put together. And I definitely appreciate seeing the deadlines of the outcome to make sure that we're keeping track of those type of things. You know, sometimes you can have deadline, you can have commitments, but the fact that you have the goals to see and track just as to me is very important, and I think to our board is very important. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for that detailed information. If any board of directs have any questions, feel free to speak at this time.
I actually don't have any questions. Actually, yes, I do. What, Mr. Williams, what was that? MSDMA? I don't know what that acronym meant.
So it's our math assessment, our math benchmark assessment.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I can't, it's so many acronyms that we've
I
had.
know, and everybody uses
Um,
acronyms, but I'm a social worker. I'm not a teacher, so I didn't know what that meant.
But it is our math assessment that we're going to be using quarterly to measure student progress.
Okay, thank you, dear. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Yep.
And I too want to piggyback off of what Ms. Boykin said. You guys did an awesome job. I really appreciate the breakdown and the goals and clearly what you all had. You can see that you really put in a lot of work with this, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that you took the time and just really focused on measurable goals. And this is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. Thank you all for all you're doing.
Are there any other board of directors that may have any questions at this time? One thing I just wanted to say is what was very interesting to me was to see the differences between each schools, you know, to know what everyone's, you know, what points they're trying to hit. Everyone has a different target or things that are meaningful to their school. So I just wanted to add that, and it's just interesting to see that. And as a board of directors, it helps us actually, it enlightens us to see the differences and the variations that each school may have. And not saying what may be important to one versus another, but it really highlights a lot of different things and how we're going to attack those things and how you've chosen as principals to attack those things. So I just wanted to say thank you again for that. With regard to comments from the public, we have had Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown. She said, thank you, Ms. Brown, Assistant Superintendent of Academics. That's what Ms. Sophia Lewis said. And also MSDA was also the acronym Math Screener Diagnostic Assessment is what it's called. That's from Jen Sathuni. So thank you very much for that. It does not look like there's any more questions or comments or anything in our chat. If anybody, no one else has anything to say, Dr. B. Coates, do you have anything to say with regard to closing?
I just want to thank the principals for their leadership. We will continue to support them in ensuring that their goals are reached. And we just continue to ask the board to support us as well as we go throughout the school year as you have. So thank you very much.
Okay, if that's all, we will end our education meeting. I just want to say thank you to everyone that has participated in this meeting and came to hear from our principals, and everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank
Have
you.
a good evening. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.